I learned the real reason my ex left me. Obligatory throwaway account, as people in my life know my usual account. Posting because I really don't know how to feel about this, and I just needed to get it off my chest. Sorry for the long-ass post. There's a lot to unpack. Backstory first. So around 2 years ago, my ex-fiancé, who I'd been in a relationship with for almost 10 years, unceremoniously just left me. It never fully made sense to me, as there were no warning signs. We were actively planning our wedding and finally agreed to try for a baby, as we were both in our 30s, and time was ticking. Then, one day, he just started acting sort of off. Wasn't saying I love you before he left for work for the day. Was spending more time out drinking with his friends than he was at home. He'd been struggling with his mental health since COVID lockdowns, so I assumed he was having a bit of a downward spiral. So I sat down with him one day and just asked him if everything was okay with him. He tried to brush it off initially and kept saying he was fine. So I changed the question and asked if we were okay. He looked like he really didn't want to answer. So I asked again. He paused. And in that moment, I knew it was over. I asked if he still loved me. He said he loved me, but wasn't in love with me anymore. And that was it. Within a week, he had moved out, leaving 90% of his belongings to be collected at a later date and to serve as a constant reminder that he was just gone. To say it hit me hard was an understatement. I spiraled massively. I was at the lowest point I had ever been in my life, so I tried to end it all. It just hurt too much feeling like there was something so wrong with me that he had to just leave. Fortunately, a friend managed to get me to a hospital before I did any serious damage to myself. And while I still felt awful about myself most of the time, it got a little easier. I ended up dating that friend a few months later. A lot of people said it was too soon to move on, but honestly, I never set out to have another relationship at all. But his constant support, presence, and reassurance that there was nothing wrong made me want to spend time with those who truly gave a shit about me. And in time, we developed feelings for each other. We had a beautiful relationship filled with love and laughter. And much to our surprise, I ended up pregnant 9 months into our relationship. We decided to keep the baby even though our relationship was still in its early stages. And 9 months later, our beautiful daughter was born. We are still as strong as ever today and continuing to build an amazing life together as a family. Now on to present day. I guess my ex has been reflecting on the past recently due to a lot of deaths in his family, and his mother, who I'm still close with today, reached out to me to ask whether I'd be willing to meet up with him, as he had something to get off his chest. She didn't know what he wanted to talk to me about, as it was something he could only discuss with me. But she would understand if I said no. I decided to think about it for a few days before I agreed that I would meet up with him at a local coffee shop. I got there early because, Mama needs her caffeine fix with these early morning wake-ups and night feeds. I was already sat down when he came in, and he gave me the saddest-looking smile, while I merely just nodded to him and motioned for him to sit down and get out whatever he needed to tell me. I was a little bit speechless at what he had to say. He said that when we started trying for a baby and nothing was happening, even though we were closely tracking my ovulation cycle and testing every day for that sweet spot, he realized something wasn't right. So he secretly took a day off work to see a fertility doctor, L. They found that due to an undiagnosed issue in one of his testicles, the likelihood of him ever being able to conceive a biological child of his own was incredibly low. He knew that I loved him so deeply that I would have given up my dream of having children just for him, and he said he couldn't live with that on his conscience, that I deserved to have the life and family I'd always wanted, only with someone else. He kept apologizing profusely for hurting me so much in the process, but tried to rationalize that I had got what I'd wanted in the end, so his plan ultimately worked. I ultimately sat there silent for a few minutes and just looked at him dead in the eyes and said that that was never his decision to make. He took away my choice and nearly destroyed me in the process, and I got up and left. It's been a few days and I'm still processing. My partner knew I was meeting up with my ex, and he knows something is up but is giving me space until I feel ready to talk about it. But honestly, I'm shook. Like, did my ex honestly think I'd be like, okay, thanks for letting me know, and then we'd all be friends again? Edit. Tried to add an update post. However, it was removed by the mods. Will post to my profile if anyone is interested. Update. First off, thank you all for your lovely comments and messages of support. I was not expecting my post to blow up like it did, so I wasn't really expecting to make an update to my previous post, and definitely not this soon. But boy, does it get interesting. So of course I plan to leave this situation alone at this point and completely put it behind me. However, my former mother-in-law reached out to me as I hadn't spoken to her in a few days, which is quite unlike me. A few people said in a few comments that I should cut her off as well as the ex, but this woman was like a mother to me for almost 10 years. When I was going through difficulties with my own family, this woman opened her home to me, gave me a safe place to stay if I needed. She had been more of a parent to me than my own parents, and basically adopted me as the daughter that she had always wanted. So when I say we are incredibly close, I genuinely mean it, regardless of anything that's happened with her son. We have a really strong relationship outside of that. We typically have a good catch-up once a week and message in between. Nothing I say to her gets passed on to her son. From what I can gather, the trickles of information he gets is through the grapevine of the group of friends we mutually share. So when she reached out to see if I was okay yesterday, I decided I'd pop over and catch up with her. Turns out, he came clean to her when she asked exactly what had gone on, as she hadn't heard off me in a few days, and she was worried. She went absolutely ballistic at him, and currently is not speaking to him at all. Then she told me something I did not know, and something she assumed I'd known all along. Turns out that when he was born, he had undescended testicles. He had the surgery to correct it, but there was always going to be the chance that he would have fertility issues in adulthood. He was meant to go for checkups once he passed puberty age to see whether there was any lasting damage. And he claimed to his mother that he had gone to these and everything was fine. But neither of us actually believed this. So the entire time we discussed having children, he knew there was a possibility that all he was shooting was blanks, but neglected to actually let me know this. For 10 freaking years. Bear in mind, we were probably having unprotected sex for 2 years of our relationship, not actively trying, but we had agreed that if something happened, we'd be happy about it. So I think when we were actively trying to have a baby and nothing was happening, it sort of gave him the mental tip-off that all was not well, and he finally decided to get that checkup he'd been putting off. In regard to my partner and I's relationship, we are absolutely fine. He's used to my sulky episodes, haha. I did eventually fill him in after a few days of being mildly annoyed, and he agreed that it was super fucked up, and agreed with a lot of the comments that his timing for telling me all this was absolutely comical. We did suspect for a while that the real reason he decided to leave was cheating initially, because he'd gotten strangely close to one of the girls in our friend group, the majority of which dropped me like hot shit once we split. Turns out there's nothing going on there, but another lil tidbit off my ex's mom that she found out also. Guys, he's dating this girl's 60-year-old mother. Good Lord, his life is a dumpster fire. I don't even think I'm mad anymore, just mildly amused. Absolutely done with that. My mother-in-law decided to gossip with my daughter about my marriage, blowing a giant hole in my life. My wife cheated on me nearly 10 years ago. I won't get into the specifics, as they're unimportant, but due to the fact that I saw blame on both of our parts, I forgave her, and we moved past it. My daughter is 16 years old, and she only just found out from my mother-in-law, who seems to have decided she was old enough to hear the family gossip, and that she would be mature enough not to confront her. Initially, my wife thought I had told her and came into my office where I had been to ask me what the hell I was thinking, and if I was trying to destroy their relationship. She and my daughter have been strained for a couple years now. Lots of arguing on both sides. She refused to believe that I hadn't said anything at first until my daughter entered the room and joined in on the screaming that I was too weak and her own mother had sold her out. The fighting went on a long time, and honestly, I may as well have not been there for all the good I did. I tried to step between them when I was concerned, but that only ended with some ringing in my ear. Ha! Eventually, my wife left to cool off, and my daughter and I could talk. She wasn't happy with me either, and didn't hesitate to tell me so. But she wasn't screaming or throwing shit anymore, so I just let her get it out. She asked me why I stayed, and I was honest, that I was no perfect husband, and I decided not to end my marriage, break up our home, and destroy her childhood for something that I held blame in as well. The entire time I was speaking, she just kept watching me with this sad face that made me uncomfortable. But when I finished, she just shook her head and said that I needed to leave my wife, and that the cheating wasn't the only issue. She started bringing up every insignificant flaw my wife has. She brought up my wife getting angry at me because I had put too much creamer in her coffee, for example. Just trivial crap. I told her as much, but she just kept shaking her head. It ended up turning into an argument where she insisted I was some sort of victim and making some kind of getaway plan. I kept trying to talk her down, but that was going nowhere. I first tried my wife, but found my call went straight to voicemail, so I called my MIL to inform her of the situation. But my wife had already made it there and planned to stay overnight to calm down because she didn't want to see either of our faces. It's been a few days now, and I still haven't seen her or heard from her, but her mother informs me she's okay, just very emotional. So I'm also scared for my wife. She has had mental health struggles before, and if she's going through that, again, I should be there to help. Edit. To the people who have commented or private messaged me to say I shouldn't care. My wife almost died the last time she had an episode, and I don't think even my daughter, as angry as she is right now, wants her mom dead. My daughter told me she hopes her mother never came back. I'm just feeling defeated and tired. I've done everything I can to keep this family floating, and somehow I'm still failing. It's beginning to feel like I always do, at everything, and always will fail at everything, as long as I live. Update. It's been a while. I probably will regret posting this as much as I did the first time, though for different reasons. Before I begin, I want to thank all the kind people who reached out with genuine advice and with whom I had lovely conversations. I appreciate you more than I can say. Checking my history, I saw that I never updated after the conversation with my daughter about her situation with my wife. We talked, and it went worse than I expected, but better than most of the comments. She never hit my daughter or threatened her. My daughter did bring up the yelling, and I listened, though she said she was never afraid of her mother, but she started to hate her when she noticed how she treated me, hence the change in appearance and rebelling. She liked that I stood up for her when it came to her new style, because then I was standing up for something. That makes me laugh a bit now, but at the time, I was confused. We talked a long time, and she said she thought maybe she could get over the resentment she had for her mother if she didn't have to see the way she treats me. I didn't much like that at the time, and I admit I argued that I was an adult and she didn't have to fight my fights for me. My daughter said something like, "If I don't, who will?" And it just kind of stopped me in my tracks, because my only answer, "Sometimes you have to pick your battles," sounds weak when you pick none of them. I still intended to try to work on my marriage, despite the comments. I really hoped to turn things around because of their previous relationship, and frankly, how much I still loved my then wife. But then she didn't come home for weeks. I don't know if it was my daughter's needling, or the fact I could tell she was upset at being abandoned by her mother at the first sign of trouble, But one day, I eventually reached out and asked my ex Mill when my wife was going to come home and act like an adult, and was told she was looking into divorce attorneys, and that if I wanted her back, I should really work on getting my daughter to apologize. It all felt so manipulative, and I just got so angry. I just hung up and spoke to my own lawyer. After being served, she tried to come back and cried that it was her mental health, but I was still so angry I just shut her down and told her to leave. Divorce was finalized a while ago. My daughter stays with me most of the time, since her mother moved out of state afterward, and she wants to go to college in the area when the time comes, but visits Mill and speaks to her mother on the phone sometimes. As much as I hate to admit it, their relationship is improving since the divorce. I don't hate my ex-wife, even if many, including my daughter, categorize her as abusive. She's the first woman I ever really clicked with in that way, and though I don't love her anymore, probably the last. I don't mind it so much. I have a full life without her around, and a quieter one as well. But anyway, thank you all again for listening, and I am bracing for I told you so's. I don't blame you. You did. Update 1.5 years later. Aida for refusing to take my low-functioning sister out with me and my other sister. I'll keep this short. I'm 18 with two sisters, Missy, 15, and Macy, 19. Macy is high needs, having a 4-year-old's mindset, needing help 24/7. Growing up, I often felt like I was an afterthought, but I get my parents were just dealing with the cards they were given. Missy is usually super independent, but has started shutting everyone out, kind of like I used to. She's like two different people, outgoing at school, quiet, and to herself at home. So I've been trying to take her out more, break the chain as best I can. Now, Missy and I planned this weekend trip to celebrate me snagging my first car. We both saved up, and my parents were totally cool with it. So I let them know, and my mom asks if Macy could join. I shut that down real quick. Macy's not a fan of trips, especially long ones, and the whole point was for me and Missy to have some quality time. My mom agreed reluctantly, but my dad later pulls me aside, saying it's their chance for a night alone, and it's a way for me to show appreciation. That one night wouldn't ruin our lives. Now I'm stuck. I feel super shitty for not wanting to take Macy, but at the same time, how is it fair to me and Missy? I just need some unbiased opinions, AITA. Update 1. A lot of you are asking the same questions, so I'll go ahead and try to answer them all. Yes, Macy does have a caregiver all week during the daytime, while everyone is at work, school. I also spend time with Macy, the same I do with Missy. We watch movies, read books, we color, and etc. I definitely will tell them that I am not bringing Macy on our trip, and is a non-negotiable, and tell them that maybe I could watch her for weekend while they do whatever. I guess when he said appreciation, he was referring to going half of my car. I will also tell them that I do not plan to take care of Macy when they get older, pass away, and they need to start looking for somewhere for her to go. Definitely will bring up the year's worth of neglect, and how sooner or later they will lose both of their daughters. I really appreciate everyone's advice in the comments. It made me feel less alone. I definitely will be showing them the comments. I'll also do an update post, either after the conversation or after our trip, depending how it goes. Update. Almost 2 years later. Hey, so I forgot I even made this post until I was going through old screenshots. Life got busy, a lot happened, and I never came back to update. But since the post reached a lot of people, and honestly helped me more than I expected, I figured I'd share how things turned out. Yes, Missy and I went on our trip. It was amazing. Just the two of us, blasting music, grabbing fast food, staying up late talking, and doing normal sibling stuff without pressure. We both really needed it. I told my parents Macy wasn't coming. They weren't thrilled, especially my dad, but they didn't stop us. When I got home, we had a real conversation. I told them everything, how I felt invisible growing up, how Missy was starting to feel the same way, and how our whole world revolved around Macy. I said I wouldn't be her future caregiver. That was when their tone changed. They said Macy would always be their priority. That told me everything I needed to know. A few days later, I moved out. It wasn't dramatic. We all kind of quietly agreed it was time. I started college early and finally got some space. College has been life-changing. I started therapy, which helped me work through guilt and stress I didn't realize I had. I've made new friends and started figuring out who I am outside of my family. I still go home sometimes. I still love Macy. That was never the issue. I just needed to choose myself too. Missy's doing better now. She's more vocal and plans to leave for college soon. My parents and I are civil, but it's different. They've started looking into long-term care options for Macy, and they know I won't be stepping into that role. Thanks to everyone who read or commented on the original post. You helped more than you know. If you're going through something similar, just know you're not selfish. Choosing yourself is okay.